What up, Facebook? How's it going? I really love this live feature. If you haven't noticed, it's actually kind of awesome. So I want to just talk about a few stuff because you get. I'm the type of person that likes to bounce ideas out, and I don't know. I feel like I'm become more creative when I talk to people and hear from people who might be listening. And what better way than to use the Facebook Live? So if you're watching, leave a comment just so I can know who's watching. It's kind of cool. I also made it public, so all those people who follow me but are not necessarily my friends can watch. So I just want to quickly just talk about a few things. I'm not shaved right now on my head, so that's kind of why I'm wearing the cap. But it's a good cap. The Justice League of America. DC fanboy much? Yes, and I'm here to talk about my newest project, Teen Titans Year Zero. So a lot of you, and even most of you, are involved with one of my Teen Titans project, which is the Teen Titans podcast, which I've written about 3 scripts for. And then we'll go from there to see what the reaction is. But that one was a little bit more CW-esque. Not necessarily that it was aimed for that kind of target audience. It's lighter and it's more. I don't necessarily have a darkness to it that Teen Titans Year Zero does. So I started working on this project called Teen Titans Year Zero. I keep naming that. I like the name of it because, well, DC has used the Year Zero before, and it's an origin story of the Teen Titans. Now, one of the biggest problems that a lot of my friends and I, who I've known, who have followed me from developing this Teen Titans project, it's the fact that I hated. One of the things I struggled is because I thought the beginning of the story was so boring. When I finally get past like the first season and tell them, hey, this is how I plan to do this and how I plan to do that, and this is the last shot of the story, like this is what I visually want to do, this scene here, and they're like, dude, that's freaking awesome. I'm editing myself, so I'm not going to be cursing on this one, for the kids. And so I started saying, well, yeah, you know what? Let me. One of the things that's always bothered me, I never believed why the Teen Titans would work together. Don't get me started on why the Justice League would work, or even the Avengers. I never believed it. A bunch of friends decided, you know what, we could do this on our own. And you know what, that might work for the 1960s or the 70s and stuff like that, but in today's society, it still can kind of work, but I thought it's kind of lazy. And I think that it would be kind of cool to have an intriguing plot that kind of forces this team to work together, and then they're put in a situation where they have to become a team. Spoiler alert. So, at the end of my story of Teen Titans Year Zero, they become the Teen Titans. How they get there and what they have to do to become it is what I'm going to be telling, and it's going to be a novel. Now, I've written a few digital books before. None of them have been published. I just posted them on like Facebook notes and stuff like that. The Nice Guys finished last series, which you can watch, or you can read. The grammar's atrocious, but I thought it was an interesting little kind of weekly chapter story that I did, and I might do the same thing for Teen Titans Year Zero. But the major difference with this is that I'm actually going to be having voice actors as well act out the parts with me, and we're going to be telling the story, so it's something that you can listen to, whether it's on the way to work or even if you don't give a crap, just check it out. Or if it's not for you, then it's not for you. Maybe you're not a comic book fan, but Teen Titans Year Zero is interesting, and I wanted to kind of share this idea with you guys because I think it's really, really cool. It's going to be a novel that I'm going to be of different chapters of a story, and I'm going to be releasing them publicly for free starting this summer. And for Year Zero, I'm still working on the plot. I'm still fighting for a villain because I'm like, do I want to think big or do I want to make it small? And you gotta respect the canon, but at the same time, this is my own thing. So I'm creating its own universe. So this wouldn't take place in the New 52 universe or even the pre-Crisis universe. This would be an Elseworld story. In this world, like Tim Drake has been working with the League of Assassins. What? It's not that much of a spoiler because it is legitimately like the first scene of the book. You see him gripping a sword, working for the League of Assassins, kind of struggling to do it because it's his last contracted day to work with the League of Assassins. And so I love Tim Drake. He's my favorite Robin. It was, I have a little bit of characteristics of all the Robin in this version of Tim Drake, but I think it's interesting because the reader is going to have to discover what did he do to, why is he working for the League of Assassins, and why isn't Batman trying to help him? You would think that he's part of the Bat family. Why is the Bat family, what was so important to Tim? Because, okay, and I'll explain that in a second, Chris. What was so important to Tim that he gave up being Robin to work for the League of Shadows, which is what I'm calling them. I don't call them the League of Assassins. They're the League of Shadows for me. And the reason why I have a small villain, well, I spoke to this with my coworker who I pitch a lot of my ideas with when we're cleaning the store and whatnot. We just talk. Nobody's in the store, and so we're just talking crap. And she like one of the things we pass the time is when we're like facing and stuff like that. Is that we're I'm pitching her a story, and in this universe, it's like the comics. It's not going to be like the show where there's a villain of the week, or this week we're going to get a visit from the Joker, or this week Harvey Dent's up to no good, or Golden Glider is doing some crazy stuff. No, it's nothing. It's nothing like that. That was weird. Wow, I apologize for that. The villains are everywhere. So even when there is a primary antagonist, you can still even hear rumblings of, Captain Cold stole from Central City. Nobody did something about it. Like, what's with the Justice League? And it's definitely takes place, like, Batman has been Batman for a while. Batman, he's doing Batman stuff. Superman is a very different Superman from the Batman v Superman universe. I don't think Superman will ever make an appearance in my Teen Titans story, just because I think he is not necessary. Even Batman, he's mentioned greatly, but the Justice League is not even necessary. But I'm getting sidetracked. The reason why I don't want to pick a huge villain is because I don't want to blow the load on the first season, even though I think, and I'm actually considering creating an original villain, because I think that's going to make it really interesting for this origin story. And it's cool because I'm not bound by expectations of what you expect from the comics. And so I've actually created a original villain who and I'm going to be very mun's the word, because I think people are going to really be intrigued by the mystery and the questions. And a lot of you already know the answers to these questions because I've pitched the story to a lot of my close friends, and I've gotten good feedback, and I've gotten some notes like, hey, you shouldn't do it, or nah, that's not that good, why don't you do this? And I've had a lot of like associate producers and whatnot. But what makes it really interesting is that it feels like I'm creating a world at the moment, and that's what I'm doing with this story. So I do have an original villain that I have in mind. He is powerful enough that you need 4 Teen Titans to face one person, but he's not too powerful where it's obviously the Teen Titans have to be formed, and his goal, I take inspiration from some Teen Titans villains from both the TV show. I've seen every episode of the TV show and Young Justice, because I didn't love Young Justice just because I read the Young Justice comics, and this wasn't the Young Justice comics, and I was expecting Young Justice comics. So once you put that aside and you forget about that, you can actually realize, oh, okay, this is actually a pretty good show, despite the fact that it had that kind of villain of the week, kind of like CSI, not CSI, but like cop drama thing. The thing about this Teen Titans story that I'm working on, Teen Titans Year Zero, it takes from different perspective. One of my favorite books growing up was called Animorphs. I don't know if anyone has ever read an Animorphs book, but every book, there was a protagonist. Like, we will see the story from Jake's point of view, or from Marco's point of view, or from Rachel's point of view, or from Cassie, or from Axe. And I always liked that because when it was, I always loved reading Marco's book because Marco was, one, he was Hispanic, and so he would even throw some Spanish stuff. And I'm like, there's one of us in our book, and Marco was always comedian, and he was always a little bit of like a hopeless romantic, and I really identified him. And then there's Tobias, who was the outsider, and even at times when I was growing up, I always kind of felt like that way sometimes, despite the fact that I'm not an outsider. You know, I will go up to you and straight up say, hey, how are you? That guy who would go up to a pretty girl in the bar and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm Orlando. Here's my phone number. I know you're not going to call me, but you're really pretty. And just walk away. I'm that guy, but Tobias definitely related to kind of the darker sides for me. The point I'm trying to make is that this series will have that point of view. Every chapter will have somebody else's point of view. Spoiler alert, Tim Drake's is the first one. And we get to see him on the last day of being with the League of Shadows, and how he has to return, if he's allowed to even escape. If the League of Shadows, he's going to escape. But if the League of Shadows are going to allow him to leave safely. But they are people of their word, kind of. And so it's about him reassimilating back into society after becoming a assassin. He's killed. And I thought that would be really, really interesting for a Tim Drake character. If you know of Tim Drake in the comics, he wouldn't be the type of person that would kill, and he almost has like a good soul to him, but he also has a darkness in him as well. So Ra's al Ghul even says that he's as smart as the bat, and in one of his stories, and you know, he's athletic as the first Robin. He can be even as ruthless as Jason. And so you'll see that his motivation for joining the League of Shadows will be very interesting, and it's something that will play out throughout the entire series. And it's not a question I'm going to answer right away. Well, why he did it, but necessarily it won't pay off immediately. It's something that I originally had an idea for this show to be it would be 3 books now. I originally had it to be 3 seasons, and the answer to that would be in season 3. And even when I pitched this idea to a lot of my friends, they're like, well, you have some plot holes. I'm like, I don't. Everything will be answered, and it's a story. It's a trilogy. Year 1, year 0, year 2, which is interesting, and then year 5 is the stories that I'm going to be telling. And the last one's called Titans. So that's one of the things I'm doing. I'm also doing some really fun stuff with Raven's character, where she's coming from. How do I make such a powerful character relatable? Which is one of the challenges that people have with Superman. And people don't realize how powerful Raven is. Raven is absolutely a doll. I love her character. I love everything she stands for. When you've been working as much as the Teen Titans characters, what I am, you fall in love with them. And Raven, I do love Cassie Sandsmark more. I'm attracted to bitches, man. Like, I'm really attracted to just tough, very confident women. And Cassie Sandsmark is that. And Cassie Sandsmark definitely has a little bit of a personality. It's a little different from the comics, and even the way Young Justice portrayed her. I did not like the way she was in Young Justice. But she's not somebody that's going to be introduced in the first book. That's something new that I just decided, actually about an hour ago, that I don't need to tell her story in this one completely. I have her story. I've written her story. I know where she is from her first beat to her last, and I'm not saying that she dies at the end. Maybe. I don't know. But I think Cassie Sandsmark is great, and I think Rachel Roth, Raven, is fantastic. And Beast Boy! You can't do Teen Titans without Beast Boy. Garfield, Mark Logan, fantastic. He is my Markle. Like, if I'm making a comparison to Animorphs, he is my Markle. He's going to be the comic relief. He has a little bit of a dry humor. He has my humor, where it's very dry but very immature. You know, and like a joke he would say, he doesn't say this, but like, I don't know if you guys ever seen that meme where it's like when people want you to be more Pacific, and it's a picture of the Pacific Ocean. Beast Boy would die watching that. So that's kind of like what Beast Boy is about. And then I'm also going to introduce someone that's a little part of the newer Teen Titans comics, but I think it's really important to have him on the team. The first initial team, which is Miguel Barragan, Bunker. And I love the Bunker character. I think there's so many opportunities to tell great stories. I think it was important to also have an interesting take on a gay character as a superhero. And I think Bunker, he's very flamboyant. And I think that, especially in today's media, the flamboyancy of a superhero is... it's kind of a stigma. So I am writing him to be very flamboyant, not over the top. Like, he's not going to be like, oh, sweet. Like I don't even want to say that because, you know, I'm not gay. But especially now working with L'Oreal, and I deal with a lot of people and part of that community, I've been observing them. And a lot of my friends, because I have friends who are legitimately part of the gay community, and if you would have told me they were gay, I couldn't believe it. And Miguel kind of has that. Miguel has this kind of, oh shit, you're gay kind of added thing, but then at the same time you're like, oh no, wait, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that, oh, never mind, Ricky Martin. Oh, you know, like almost the Ricky Martin effect. Like, I'm definitely like, you're like, he's a little bit too, you know. And I love that about him because he's a very loving person, and his backstory's a little bit tragic. He was kind of kicked out of his home from Mexico because where he was a superhero and a star soccer player. His boyfriend was like a huge actor in Mexico, and he was kicked out because their relationship got caught public by TMZ, and like, he was dating like the Antonio Banderas. Remember Antonio Banderas when he was like in his prime? Like, every movie, the Spanish guy, the hot Spanish guy had to be Antonio Banderas. That was Miguel's boyfriend. And when his parents found out, they disowned Miguel, and now he's on his way to meet up with a friend he met online through this superhero chat room, which is not sketchy at all. And the person he's meeting is Garfield Logan, who wants to make a team with him. So it's gonna be fun to see Miguel and Garfield really interact. It's kind of almost a substitution of Cyborg and Beast Boy. I know it's a little sacrilegious, but I think Cyborg's in a good place with the Justice League, and I'm not going to bother him. And I think Miguel has potential to being a little bit more of an interesting character from point of view than Victor Stone. Because Miguel, we get to really see inside his head and really understand why he's here, and he still doesn't really truly understand how he's even gotten his powers. He's just always had it. So I think it's really cool to see that story, and what leads them all to Jump City, the city in which the Teen Titans are from in the comics, and the city where my Teen Titans will take place in. So I just wanted to kind of like spitball some ideas with y'all, just kind of talk about it. I'm not talking much about what the plot is, and it's really, really cool. The name of the villain that I created is Gareth, and Gareth will be a very formidable villain to these Teen Titans, and he is not what you expect. He's the kind of villain that I enjoy, a villain with a good purpose. Well, not necessarily good, and I think it's something that a lot of people would appreciate as a bad guy. So it's kind of cool to create your own character and throw them into this TC universe. So I believe probably starting, I could say starting in July, you'll start seeing chapters of Year Zero. And it might even, we might get the podcast going, but I know for sure I want to get this story out there. And it depends on how the job interview process goes and if I have the time. But I've already written 2-3 chapters. The first 5 are definitely origin stories before, and then like chapter 6 really kicks in the plot and the mystery of certain disappearances. So Teen Titans Year Zero. Another thing, that's enough with the Teen Titans talk. I just wanted to also address, I really got a good plan for what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. I'm committed to this film work, and not necessarily that I'm abandoning music, because I'm not. Alive in the Dark is still around, and Alive in the Dark is about to do some really cool stuff. In fact, we're going to the studio this Friday to finish a Japanese cover that we're doing. So it's gonna be really, really cool. I'm really committed to making sure that I can find a film job in my career, whether it's writing, which would be idea, whether it would be editing, whether it would be directing, hell, even if it's just getting somebody coffee. Just getting it in is what matters. And that's what I'm going to try to do. So I've got a few job interviews coming up for some film projects and film jobs, and so I'm very grateful towards that because it's been a very rough 2016 for me. I don't know, those who have me on the other profile I already posted, I'm not going to talk about it here, how rough it's been, and I didn't even talk about the really, really bad stuff. Those who are lucky to follow me on Tumblr, but not really, don't follow me on Tumblr. It's a bad idea. I'm a bad person there. It's going slowly but surely. What else did I want to talk about? Game of Thrones later. I might do a live. No, I'm gonna be sleeping. I don't even know if I'm gonna watch it tonight now, unless somebody wants to come over and hang. But no, yeah, Teen Titans Year Zero, July, middle of July. I'll probably start posting some chapters, and the first chapter I might do it monthly, weekly. I haven't decided yet. But it's gonna be fun. If you're a fan of a dark Teen Titans take that's not dreary like Batman v Superman was, it's gonna be, it's comic books, but it's gonna have more realistic themes and more mature themes. The Raven story in particular is very dark, considering the fact that she's the daughter of a freaking demon, and a lot of satanic rituals and stuff would have to be involved. Includes blood sacrifices and everything like that. So, you know, that's cool. And she also has to deal with the fact that when we first meet Raven, she has no memory of who she is. Just a necklace of a raven. Oh, tropes. I needed to power her down a bit. We'll meet Wonder Girl in book 2. And book 2 will be a very strong tribute to the comics. And so it will be a very kind of cool love letter to the comics, as well as doing my own original thing with the characters that I have worked for. So that's it. If anyone has any questions, comments, go ahead. Thanks for watching this. There's been, I think I maxed out at 15 viewers at one time, so that's kind of cool. I mean, that's not a lot for obviously the super celebrity people. I'm nobody. But it's cool that people are actually interested in wasting their Sunday night watching me talk about my stories and comics and stuff. Because comics is cool. I was talking to Carolina. She was over at my house today. It's my brother's girlfriend and a very, very good friend of mine. My sister, practically. Not my actual sister. My actual sister is also named Caro. Well, she's named Caroline, but that's unimportant. I love her too. But she was she says, I can't understand how people don't like comics because it's so, and I'm gonna curse, fucking cool. All right, it's so cool, and it's better than some literary work because it's so fresh. It's so, the conflicts between these titans, these gods, these just, it's Greek mythology, man. It's awesome, and I discovered it late in my life. I've always been a fan of it from afar when I was younger, but it wasn't until college and I started really understanding and researching it, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and then I actually started buying comics, and now I don't have much hard. I have a lot of digital comics, but I'm going to be getting some hard copies of the Judas Contract and Terror Trigon and Titans End. It's almost like I'm teasing you what inspired my stories. Flashpoint Paradox, any Booster Gold and Rip Hunter story. I love those. So I think 52 is one that I definitely want to pick up because I think 52 was a really fun read, trying to figure out what was on Rip Hunter's thing. And Batman just has some of the best stories, even though the new Superman comics have been really, really good, and I'm looking forward to DC's Rebirth. I used to be a big Spider-Man fan, but Look, listen, I'm gonna be really honest. I'm not a big Avengers fan. Like, I like Marvel's X-Men stories, and I like Spider-Man. I like Deadpool to a certain extent. I think too much of Deadpool can be a little bit too much because he's silly and all. But I'm not a huge Deadpool fan. I'm just not. I enjoyed the movie, but I wish I didn't see the movie in the trailer. The same thing I said about Batman v Superman. So I'm not big on Marvel comics per se. I am big of Civil War. So I am. This is my favorite Marvel story, which is why I might be a negative review for the movie because I heard it doesn't follow the comic that well. But I heard it's still really good, so I'm gonna check it out, and I can't wait to talk about it. That's it. I think this video has gone for way too long. And I'm gonna end it now. Just God bless. Keep fighting out there, guys. It's never-ending war with this adult stuff. My Teen Titans Year Zero story will come out in July. First chapter called The Death of Robin. I don't know. I just think that sounds cool. I wish I could have said it better. The Death of Robin. Yeah, it sounds like a tool. All right, guys. Good night.